You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello and welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents A Better You. I'm your host and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I'm a certified life, career, yoga, and meditation coach. Our show is A Better You, lessons from the best coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors. And we are live streaming today on Business Talk Radio and social media. Let's bring out our experts for today's presentations. With us, we have Jeff Nischwitz and Diann Floyd Boehm. Welcome to the program.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Hi, Jacalyn.
Hi, it's great to see you both. So, Jeff, when we last spoke, you were in Florida, in Tampa. Are you still there?
Still there. It's now known by some people as Champa since I saw you last. I'm not embracing it, but it is going around.
Okay. And Diann, are you still in Texas?
Yes, I am.
Fabulous. So how are you both doing? You're both in states that are totally open, right?
Correct.
Well, Florida's been more or less open for a while. I will tell you, I did the dance with the COVID in February. So I will tell you that it's the real deal. And I'm feeling really good now, but it's been about 6 weeks.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, would you say how ill were you?
I didn't need to be hospitalized. I would say in terms of how sick I've been before, it was probably close to the sickest I've ever been. It was probably a 5 or 6. I can tell you that a friend of mine saw me when I was really sick and said, "Do you need to go to the hospital?" And I said, "Why?" And they said, "Because it looks like you're dying."
Oh,
I said, well, I don't feel like I'm dying. I mean, I'm not making light of it, but apparently I looked really bad.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad that you're okay now. That
Way to
sounds
rock.
very, very scary. So I just see with somebody as a comment from Twitch. Well, hello to you. Nice to have you watching with us. And also on Facebook, Rebecca Hay likes our broadcast. So hello to you. Yay.
Cool.
So why don't we start off with sharing a little bit about who you are, what you do, and the value that you're going to bring to our audience today. And we'll start with you, Jeff.
Okay. So yeah, I'm Jeff Nischwitz. You'll see there, I am known as a snow globe shaker. And what that means is I shake things up. I shake people's thinking up. I shake my own up. I shake up perspectives. And I've learned over the last few years that there's this metaphor of snow globes, that snow globes exist for one reason only, and that is to be shaken. But most of them actually are never shaken because they're good enough as they are. It's a form of settling. So I work with companies and individuals to shake up their thinking, their perspectives, and especially their actions and outcomes. And I would add that I'm a speaker, I'm a coach. And I say when people ask, what kind of coach are you? I say, well, I work at the intersection of business and heart. And when people say, well, are you a life coach or a business coach? And I'll say, well, if you can tell me the difference, I'll answer your question.
Wow.
And then we have a dialogue, because I believe that my business and my world and my relationships will never be stronger than I am in terms of aligned and healthy. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So it's a very holistic approach to growth with capital G.
I like that. And Jeff, look what's going on over here. I'm shaking up my snow globe that you gave me.
Nice. See, I don't have to bring mine out today because I always have it within reach.
I was so pleasantly surprised when I received this in the mail. This was such a cool thing to send because it's so unique, and I keep it right here on my desk. So thank you again. That was wonderful. Okay, Diann, let's hear from you. Who are you? What do you do? And what value will you bring to our audience today?
Well, thank you for having me. So I'm Diann Floyd Boehm, and I'm a children's author. And I am going to look forward to sharing the power of words with people today. I go to different schools and help kiddos fall in love with themselves, help them enjoy their imagination. And I work with all ages from 4-year-olds all the way up to 8th grade. I have been in some high schools, inspiring them to be young writers, because we're all storytellers. And so that is who I am.
Fabulous. And look what I have here today. Oh my gosh. We've got The Little Girl in the Moon, written by Diann. We've got Harry the Camel, The Little Girl in the Moon, Moxie and Tycho Town. And Little Girl in the Moon, The Big Idea. So
yeah. Wow. Thank you.
Yes, definitely fans of both of you. So it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Let's just share a little bit about how this is going to work. And I want to say hello to Elliot Carroll and Rand Snyderman. We are going to give each of you 15 minutes to present us with a lesson, something that we can learn from to be better, a better you, personally or professionally. And then afterwards, the rest of us, the other two, we will talk about what we learned from the lesson. So we're going to start with Jeff because he graciously offered to go first. So thank you, Jeff. It's wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to spotlight you, Jeff. I'm going to put Diann and I backstage, and I'm going to give you a 15-minute timer. Any questions before we start?
Ready to rock.
All right. Let me find the timer here. Here it is. And it's all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn. Welcome, everyone. I'm not much of a swimmer or a diver, but I will tell you that I'm kind of like the Olympics today. I feel like I'm on the Olympic diving team, and I decided to choose a very high degree of difficulty because in this now 14 and a half minutes, I'm going to give people some insights and tools to help them identify and start to shift their triggers. And these are typically emotional triggers, and these are triggers that then create patterns of communication, patterns of behavior that pretty much never serve us. And so I'm actually going to walk us through a process. It's virtually step by step to talk about this idea of triggers. So the first thing I want to highlight is that a lot of people talk about emotional intelligence, and in the corporate world, that's a big deal today. But I want to offer that it's a lot more. It's so much more than emotional intelligence. And I think that, in fact, emotional intelligence is almost dangerous because we stop there. I think we need to talk more about emotional awareness, which to me is different. Emotional awareness is a part of emotional intelligence, but I also want to talk about trigger awareness. When I start explaining it, I think most people will say, oh yeah, I have those, but they may not call them triggers. And what a trigger is something happens outside of ourselves. It could be a person. Literally, sometimes we get triggered by individuals, okay? It could be a situation that happens. It could be words. Some of us get triggered literally by single words. And almost always we have a reaction to it. We don't respond to it. We actually react to it. And so what I want you to think about here as we start about this is this is a series of questions you can ask yourself about anything in your life, and ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1 is, I wish I was less blank. I wish I was less blank. Could be reactive, angry, judgmental, negative, depressed. Whatever it is, I wish I was less blank. And just hold that thought for a moment. Similarly, in a related question, but sometimes gets different answers, is, I don't like it when I don't like it when I snap at my children. I don't like it when I'm dismissive with my life partner. I don't like it when I get frustrated with people at work. So that's another version, and see what comes up for you. And then the third version, which is flipping to the more positive side, is, I wish I was more blank. I wish I was more kind. I wish I was more confident. Hear that one a lot. I wish I was more calm. I wish I was more secure. I wish I was more dynamic. So whatever it is, you might have some different answers. But for right now, as you're listening, just pick one and process this in your own mind. And I'll be doing some examples from my own life. Because what you just identified, whatever you pull out of there is, this is going to tell you the areas in your life when you're going to engage in behavior that's likely an emotional and reactive situation. In other words, a trigger. So let me give you a couple examples of me, for me. I'm aware of, I get triggered by two words often, never and always. Because I don't believe anything is always, and I don't think anything is never. So I know that when someone says to me, especially if it's about me, but really it's about anything. But if they say, you know, Jeff, you always do this, or you never do this, my reaction is to shut down. I got triggered by those words. I shut down. I'm really not interested in listening because I basically have said whatever you're telling me is an exaggeration. So I've made a judgment, and often I will not only disconnect, but I might get angry. Okay, so that's one trigger for me. I'll talk in a moment about how to address them and turn them. Another is, and this is going to sound really harsh, but I'm here to be honest, I get triggered sometimes by what I call slow thinkers. This is not about intelligence, but I happen to be a very fast processor. So I process information very quickly. I process information. I'm going to try and fix this and see if this helps. Apparently I'm frozen, but hopefully you can hear me. I process information very quickly. And a lot of people can't keep up with that. And there's nothing wrong with it. We just have different processing speeds. But I find that sometimes I get triggered by this because I'm in a hurry to get an answer or have a discussion or move forward because I want to move fast. I'm in a fast pace. And sometimes I start to judge that person. I start thinking, like, how come you don't get it? Why are you so slow? And sometimes the thought comes to my head, I don't think they're intelligent. Now, I know that's not true, but what's happening is their speed is different than my speed. And I have a reaction to that doesn't serve our communication, doesn't serve our relationship at all. And so I want to be aware of that. And I'll tell here's another trigger for me. When people say one thing and do another. That's a big one for me because to me it speaks of a lack of integrity, and I can get really frustrated and sometimes really aggressive with people like that. And similarly, another trigger for me is when people engage in conversations that I'm going to just say are disrespectful, in my opinion, around people of difference, whatever it is. So it might be an inappropriate joke. And a lot of times, instead of having a conversation that's healthy, I go into attack mode because what comes up is I've got to shut them down because whatever they're saying is wrong or dangerous or whatever. And so the problem is, while I want to have a conversation with these people, I don't have a conversation. I go on the offensive with them. So these are some examples of situations that trigger me where I react with emotion, and it doesn't serve the situation. It doesn't serve the relationship. And it doesn't serve what my hope is a desired or different outcome. So now we're going to look at what do I do with this, okay? So the first part is sort of identifying it. And so some of you might say, when I come home from work, this is the typical one, I'm really tired. All I want to do is relax. And as soon as I come in the door, everybody's coming at me. They've got questions. My kids want to see me. They want to show me their stuff for the day. And I want to be loving and welcoming to them, but actually I shut down and I can come off as abrupt and cold and harsh. Well, part of it is that we're tired, but part of it is we're not aware that this is happening until after it happens. And then we look at it and say, oh my God, why was I like that? I didn't want to be like that. So the key is to become more aware of these, catch ourselves ahead of time, and basically minimize how often they happen. lower the energy of them, and shorten the time frame. In other words, we just become more conscious of them and catch ourselves. So here's where we got to get to. Now we got to go. That stuff was actually pretty easy. It was sort of head stuff. Now we got to get to the emotional stuff. And so in the emotional side, the next set of questions is, what are your typical emotions around these triggers? So if you wrote down, I wish I didn't snap at my kids so much. I wish I was more present for my life partner. Think about the one you're focused on and ask yourself, what's the primary emotion or emotions that happen right then? Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you afraid? Are you ashamed? And the key is, the question is, are you ashamed when you got triggered, or do you become ashamed because you got triggered and interacted with someone in a way that you considered harsh or unkind? So get really clear on the emotion and check in and say, is that really emotion? Because a lot of times, depending on gender changes it too, you may react with one emotion, for example, anger, when the truth is you're afraid. Something might, something might go bad. And so your anger comes out, but you're really afraid. And it's important to get really honest about what your reaction is. So for example, with me, if I get frustrated with someone who I perceive as not processing as fast as me, my judgment of them is they're slow in some way, but the emotion usually comes out as frustration, which is a form of anger. But the underlying emotion for me is actually fear most of the time. Fear that I won't get things done as fast as I would like. Fear that we won't work together as well as I would like. Fear that I'll have to hang into this conversation longer than I want, which keeps me from getting the next thing. So in a way, I label that person saying, you're holding me back. And I'm angry about it, but I'm also afraid of what people might think if you hold me back. So you got to get really clear on your emotions. And now we get to sort of the final question in all of this. And this is where we have to get really honest. And this is the hardest work of all of this, is to ask ourselves the question, why am I those emotions? Why am I angry? Why am I sad? Why am I scared? Why am I anxious? Why am I frustrated? But here's the tricky part. Every answer you give, if it's about someone else, something else, or an outside event, that's not the answer. So if I say, you know what, I'm angry because Joe is processing slowly, that tells me that's not the answer, because that's about Joe. And here's a phrase, I'll repeat it a couple of times, that people struggle to accept. I think it's a vital piece of self-awareness is our emotional responses, your emotional responses to people and situations are based upon what you make that situation mean about you. After all, you're the one that's angry. And what I believe is no one can make me angry. No one can make me sad. No one can make me scared. They can trigger things in me, but until you're willing to own that these are your emotions, and whatever's happening, your emotions are based on that, nothing's going to change. So as I said earlier, if I'm angry at Joe, I'm not angry because Joe was slow processing. I'm angry because I perceive that Joe's getting in the way of me being productive or looking good or accomplishing things. So I'm worried about how I'm going to look, but I'm angry at Joe, and that comes out in my reaction. So these can be really difficult questions because we tend to want to blame others for our emotions. So number one, we have to accept responsibility. They're my emotions. I got to understand why I have those emotions. Number two, I need to be willing to be honest about what those emotions are and what's triggering them, and recognize that the person or situation triggered it, but it's my emotion. And now, once I'm aware of this, I can interact with people differently. I can catch myself. I can realize, look, I'm a fast processor. Most people won't be a fast processor, and go into it knowing that. Or when someone, say Dr. Jacalyn, says to me, Jeff, you never do this, I will generally say, Dr. Jacalyn, I can tell you that word's a trigger for me because I don't think anything's always or never. Can we take that word out of it? it'll help our communication. So I can talk to people about it. I can put those triggers aside most of the time, or when I catch it happening, I quickly rebound, reground, and interact with those people around me and the situation in a calm, grounded, responsive way, not a reactive way. So this is the final closeout is remember that your emotions are all about you. And when you get triggered, it almost never serves you. And if you want to change your relationships and what you're creating in the world, become more aware of your emotions, pay attention to your triggers, and slow it down and change all of the outcomes.
Wow.
Wow, and I thank you. And I don't know why I am frozen.
Yes, you were frozen. I wasn't sure if it was just you or if it was the whole.
I'm going to try the camera one more time and see if that jolts it.
The good news is at least you're not frozen in some strange looking distorted. That's what always happens to me.
Well, let me see if this is actually the camera.
There you go. Yeah.
So that's a different camera. Okay.
Okay,
we'll go with that
great.
For the moment. That's not too bad, is it?
No, that's great. So we're going to discuss it when we come back. But I have to say, Jeff, I was over here shaking my head thinking so many of the things that you said resonate with me because I am the same way. And I get so frustrated. It's like, you understand, I have to get this done, this done, this done, this done. And you're holding me back and I don't have time to hear what you have to say. And it's just like, whoa. So it's self-awareness. But I definitely want to hear what Diann has to say and then talk further about it because it was a really good presentation. How do you feel about doing it?
Are you ready for me?
I don't know how Jeff felt about doing it.
It felt good. I can tell you, I don't know that I've ever delivered it that way. It's something I talk about a lot, but to do it in that way in a relatively short period of time, I was thinking that am I putting too much in it? But I think it was enough because I could do a whole day on that, right? But it felt like it was enough. It wasn't jammed, but it felt like the key points got made, and it helped me because I'm usually an off-the-top guy. It was really cool to lay it out in a process, so now I can actually use that a little differently in my coaching.
Yeah, that's great, and that's why you and Diann are experts because you have so many lessons. It's not just one lesson that you have. So we're going to take a break and hear from a new sponsor out over in Australia, I should say. So let's take a look. We'll be right back.
When all my broken sneakers started to pile up in the wardrobe, I realized that we have a problem. Sneakers are made from plastics, and plastic is not mendable. My name is Philip, and I'm one of the founders of Our Choice Fashion. How many times did this happen to you? How can eco sneakers save the world when they break after only a few months and we have to buy pair after pair that breaks? We are here to give you the solution, a choice for truly sustainable fashion in the world's first circular sneakers. On average, we all buy 3 pairs of sneakers each and every year. This adds up to 25 billion sneakers per year, of which most end up in landfills. This adds up to 350 million tons of CO2 emissions, the same amount as for the country of Italy or the state of California. So we started to develop a product that would have all the old-fashioned qualities. It is mendable, it has a classic design, and it has a natural comfort. Because we chose the best designer there is, Mother Nature. The sneakers get more and more comfortable the more you wear them. Made from vegetable tan leather and natural latex from the rubber tree, the sneakers are both sustainable and comfortable. These sneakers are made from pure raw materials that are both fully biodegradable and fully recyclable. The best thing here really is that when your sneakers need an upgrade, you just send them right back to us using the same bag that you got them delivered in. We then resole your sneakers, put on a fresh pair of laces, and give them a nice new polish. This means that you can wear your sneakers for many years to come. Our sneakers are more than sneakers. They are a circular function, and we developed a smart pull for you to step into your sneakers without stepping down the heel. This means that you get a truly sustainable grip. We've got a fully circular business model, and that's why we'll only produce sneakers on your demand. Book your product now and get that sustainable grip at a discount. We've been on this amazing journey for 2 years, and now we're inviting you to also make a choice for truly sustainable fashion. Try the world's first circular sneakers, 100% plastic-free, and I can promise you that our choice will be your companion for many years to come.
Looking for children's books to embrace the imagination, to inspire your kids to be the best they can be and to love themselves? Look no further. Children's author DiannFloydBoehm.com. You'll find the books right there and on Amazon and local stores.
My stomach issues make me want to stay home, but that's not an option. No matter how prepared I am, I still feel nervous. Enough is enough.
If this sounds familiar, the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation can offer you support and connect you with a specialist.
Don't keep your symptoms to yourself. Get help at spillyourguts.org today.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hello and welcome back to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents A Better You. Lessons from the best, here they are, coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors. And I want to say hello to Nadeem Bashir. Thank you for watching. So, Jeff, that was a fascinating presentation of the word trigger. It automatically draws an emotional response to me because there are definitely people who are triggers for me, and I start to shut down and become all emotional. My heart rate starts going. So, Diann, I'd love you to join in on the conversation. What are your thoughts about triggers and Jeff's presentation?
First of all, Jeff, that was incredible. And before I go talk about how great you were, I just want to say your picture behind you fits in with the snow globe so well because it's all these twists and turns we have in life until we find our magic. And I love that picture. It fits well with you. I'm sure that's why you picked it, right?
Well, there's a whole story to that picture that'll make you laugh and cry.
Oh, we'll have to save that for next time for sure. Yes. And I just want to share that I have a snow globe, and later I'll share with you what I do. We actually collect snow globes, my mom and I, but this is my teeny tiny one for inspiration. So I wanted to share with you, I'm part of the snow globe, and how creative of you to come up with that whole concept of snow globe and shaking. It fits in. It was powerful what you had to say, and I loved the fact that you really shared how we have to own our own emotions and able to deal and work with people and to grow. I found it so powerful that I hope that you write lessons for school children to grow and become better human beings, because it was just, it hit me on so many levels. I know what you mean about the processing quickly, because my husband, he processes this real quickly and he just wants to go on. And I'm sitting here, I'm just, like floating on a cloud. Let me think about it and let me paint rainbows. And I bet they really didn't mean that. And he's like, so, and then at the same time, I can also do the whole process like, okay, I need to get things done. What is the problem here? I've mapped it out. And so you're talking about triggers. It actually made me to be remind myself to be more mindful about who I am and my reactions. So bravo.
Thank you, Diann. Well, we have the same thing now. Since I started this snow globe thing, I now have about 80 of them, and I buy them, but I only buy them when I go somewhere new. So it's about destinations. If I go to a new city, and I will tell you that issue of the speed showed up in a relationship about 8 years ago, and we did some assessments, and they came back and said, Jeff, you guys are very similar, but you process everything fast. You process in your head, in your heart, and in your gut fast. So you've processed all, including the emotion. You've processed all of it, and she's still in the emotional part, and you're asking her the next question. I said, why do you feel like I'm like not bullying the word? She felt like I was always firing questions at her. Mm-hmm. I said, well, aren't you ready? They said, no, she's not. She actually is not. You're ready, but she's not. Slow down.
Yeah. That's really interesting. You know, it just triggered a thought in my head, which is, I remember in the past, many relationships, people would say, why do you ask so many questions? I feel like you're interviewing me. Well, who knew I would end up being an interviewer? But because I want the information, like I just like, and I think I'm still like that. So question I have for you both is, when you're in a business situation, you really do have to get control of yourself and realize what it is you're feeling and how you're acting. But what about when you're in a personal situation? Is it possible that it might come to a point where maybe whatever the situation is, whatever if it's neighbors, friends, relatives, maybe it's not a situation that is workable for you. Maybe you have to have a boundary and say, you know what, I'm getting upset so much and I am calming myself down, but this is not a good influence on me. Thoughts, Jeff?
Well, I think it's very important for us to set boundaries, and most people struggle with them. They think they're harsh, and they're not. They're just healthy. I would say this, though, for me, especially around people, I may set boundaries with people because of their energy, like they're just super negative, or they're just, sometimes it's a values disconnect, but I'm still going to work on the trigger part. Because if I can understand why someone triggers me and what that is about me, and really do that work, they probably won't trigger me anymore. So it's not a matter of like pretending it didn't happen. I actually don't get triggered by them anymore. And basically, it's a form of empathy and compassion and mercy to say they're just different from me. Like, who am I to be angry at them because they're different than me? When I say it that way, I go, wow, that's, oh boy.
There's a lot there to unpack, that's for sure. Diann, what are your thoughts?
It's very similar to Jeff. I totally believe in boundaries, and it's also a way to make sure that you keep growing with that person, especially with like family members. And so I might have like, we will not talk about politics because I want to have a happy Thanksgiving. Or, I'm going to enjoy this baseball game. Do not talk politics, right? So boundaries happen. And also I really can't stand being around negative people, and I get so turned off, but I know that I have to deal with them. So kind of like Jeff, I try to figure out how to make that happen. And so for me, walking down the classroom corridor, especially when teachers didn't want computers in the classroom and I'm teaching them how to change their way of teaching, I would have to say, okay, keep love in my heart, keep love in my heart. They're not going to upset me, because they might say, oh, here she comes again. She's Miss Know-It-All. I'm just like, oh gosh, okay, I'm going to keep love in my heart and then I can just keep going on and stay focused. So that's kind of how I did it.
That's great. And I think that's part of the reason during the pandemic that I got my yoga and meditation certification, so I could calm myself down, and because these triggers, I think they start a long time ago, and then they just keep building and building and building. A lot of times it's with the same people or people with similar types of personalities. And it's just a matter of what you both were saying. So looking inside, like, why am I reacting this way? What am I going to do about me?
Right. One thing to think about for everybody, I just want to throw this in with triggers. One way you can imagine them is, I've never had a broken rib, but I understand they're really expensive, or I'm sorry, really painful, really painful. And they start to heal, but imagine you had a broken rib that's not fully healed. In other words, something happened a long time ago in your life that created that sensitive area. And it's like that person does or say something as if they were poking it, except they weren't poking it. You heard the words or the actions and it poked it, and you kind of go, oh, now you're going to attack them. But the reality is the work is here to continue to heal that broken rib. That's another metaphor to think about triggers.
Yeah, I like that. It's really good.
Put it together.
Yeah, very insightful, Jeff. Well done.
Very good.
So, Diann, we are up to you in your presentation. Jeff, I'm not sure exactly. I think you have to go shortly. So, do you want to stay around? Why don't we give your contact information now? And then if you have to drop off, that'll be fine. How does that sound?
Okay, it's really easy. All you have to do is spell my last name. Because my last name is N as in Nancy, Ischwitz. The website is nischwitzgroup.com. Jeff Nischwitz on all the social media channels. Connect with me anywhere out there. So all you got to do is know the last name and you will find me. Thanks,
and Jeff, what's the value that you bring, the services that you offer?
Well, when I'm working I'm speaking at events, I'm going to bring this kind of disruptive, unique thinking to the audience. And when I'm working one-on-one, I'm going to help people get out of their own way. And basically what I tell them is most people think they're running a 100-yard dash, but they're really running a 100-yard hurdle, and they created all of the hurdles. So I'm going to help them remove hurdles so they can actually run that 100-yard dash.
I like that. Very cool. Thank you. Too. Thanks, Jeff. That's terrific. Diann, I'm going to spotlight you. And I'm going to put Jeff and I backstage. And Jeff, if we don't get a chance to say goodbye, it's great having you here. We'll look forward to having you back.
I'll hang on till I hear the end.
Okay, perfect. Here we go. So Diann, I'm going to spotlight you, and then I'm going to find the timer for the 15 minutes. And here you go.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me. I just want to say that Jeff and I really complement each other because he was talking about the power of words, and it so happens today I'm going to be talking about the power of words. So we authors and everyone, we use words every day, just like we're doing today at this very moment. But what I want us to think about now is just how important words are, especially when we go to write or speak. So for example, let's look at run. If I'm speaking to young children or writing for young children, I might use the vocabulary run. But for another adult, a young adult, I might use scamper, or I might use jog. He went for a jog today. She scampered along. Oh, you should have seen the squirrel scamper. They rushed to the race. So, or you could say he ran to the race, but the word run, and it creates an image. If we use the word sleep, we might use it for a younger person, but what are we trying to convey? We might say, oh, she's dozing right now, or she fell asleep for a few hours, or oh, she's taking a snooze, right? So each one creates a different image, and it depends on the age level that you're writing for, which vocabulary word you might use. And then you have like dreams. So the dreams could be all kinds of things like, oh, she has really great dreams, or there she is daydreaming, or she's so full of delusions, or she's always fantasizing. Again, a power of words. And the synonym that you use depends also on your audience that you're either reading or speaking with, or writing for, I should say. So communication and the power of words are very, very important. When I was younger, there was a phrase I heard when I was very young. It was said, the tongue is sharper than the sword. And I clearly remember thinking, okay, that doesn't make sense. And I remember I was so young, I remember looking at my tongue that how can that be a sword? That's just the silliest thing I ever heard of. But I think the way my mama and dad brought us up, I came to understand that. And of course, I understand it as an adult even more so. And so in our household, as a young kid, mama and daddy wouldn't let us use certain words. Like we couldn't use the word hate, we couldn't say idiot, and we couldn't say stupid. And if we used any of those vocabulary words, we were sent to our room to think about what we were saying, because just because our brother changed the TV station doesn't mean you really hate them. But because I said, I just hate you for doing that, we were sent to our room to think about what we just said. And of course, in the end, there was always an apology. And I'm so grateful for my parents for that type of upbringing, because I really understand that the HATE is a really strong, strong word. And there are times in our writing that we actually need to use that word, but I use it selectively when it really is the most appropriate. You know, there are words that can make you giggle, they can make you smile, they can even bring you to tears. And selecting the words for any one of those emotions, again, depends on your audience, their age, and what it is that you're trying to convey. And again, that's going back to the power of words. What is it that you're trying to say in that message in that particular moment? So that brings us to characters of stories. When I think of an idea for a story, then I want to think about the characters. And though the reader may never know the backstory, I generally always have a backstory for every one of my characters, no matter what tiny little moment they have in the story to the larger moment, because I want to think about, okay, if that character is selfish, how am I going to describe them? How are they going to speak? Are they going to be greedy or just plain old mean? Selfish. So then once I make that decision, how is it that they're going to speak? So are they going to say, I need to go first because I'm the best speller in the class and you're not? Well, when you say it like that, I'm not sure that person really has too many friends. Or they might say, I'm going first in this relay race because I run faster than any of you. And that person has to discover that just because you're the fastest runner, it's teamwork. And then how do I develop that whole character to make that shift to realize, okay, I could be fast, but where's the best placement for me? And that is character development and the words that we use to help that character along, and for our reader to sympathize or eventually go, oh, come on, you can do it, until they're kind-hearted. And then, of course, you do have the character that is kind-hearted. So how are they going to speak? Are they so gushy that you just go, oh God, I can't stand them because they're just too sweet? Or they have this sweetness about them and you just fall in love with them? And again, it's all about which words did you use to help that character development along so that your readers are with you. So, you know, you might have a character and Susie says, oh, that's okay, Diann. Don't worry about it. Let's just go on. And then you go merrily along because everything is just nice and smooth and rainbows, right? Or, you know, the character might say, I heard Mrs. Oakes isn't feeling very well today. Let's make some cookies and take to her. And then you're like, oh, okay, you know, and next thing you know, you're baking cookies and you have them all for Mrs. Oakes down the street. And that actually happened. There was Mrs. Oakes and she was such a doll. And so that was actually a true life story. Then you have the characters that you need to decide what they look like. And again, words are powerful. Is that character tiny? Are they slender? Are they hefty? Are they chunky? And depending on that vocabulary word, again, helps develop the picture in the mind for the reader so that they can come along with you. And in that characterization with the adjectives that you describe the character, you want that to mesh beautifully with how they speak in the story. And the whole time, you're always thinking about the end result, the message you want to have happen in the story. So let's take some examples. And thank you, Dr. Jacalyn, for showing some of my books. So here's The Little Girl in the Moon. And the purpose that I came up with before I even wrote the story was I really wasn't happy with hearing about how much bullying is going on in schools. And I wanted to write a story that was a little different, but the outcome being that even if we look different, we should accept them, find out who they are, because maybe they could be your very best friend. So in The Little Girl in the Moon, she actually lives on the moon. And she's a moonling. And of course, there's a huge backstory about it all, because I hope one day I have a cartoon show about it. But the little girl in the moon, she wants all the earthlings to know about her. And she looks very different. And I had to think about, okay, what are some of the fun things that kids love to do that a moonling loves to do too? So she says something to her mama, I love to swing, I love to read, blah, blah, blah. And so everything is things that earthling kids like to do as well. And by the end of the story, when the kids discover what a moonling looks like, they're like, oh my gosh. But then we talk about, okay, but you liked him a minute ago. And so then it just has a refreshing way of reminding everybody that you liked him a minute ago. And just because they look different doesn't mean they can't be your best friend. So vocabulary. In Harry the Camel, I wanted to get across, again, there was a little bullying going on. But most importantly, there are points and times in our life that we don't like ourselves, no matter what age we are. So actually, the book's very ageless. And so you have to come to grips with who you are. And Harry, he wanted to be a horse. He wanted that smooth back. And there was this little bird that's always teasing him, calling him lumpy and humpy and all these kind of stuff. But different things happen in the story. And by the end of the story, Harry discovers that there's nothing better than being who you are. But as I wrote the story and I used the word lumpy and I used the word hump, it made the kids go, ooh, you know, and then they learned to listen carefully about who Harry was, and they couldn't wait until Harry discovered what they already knew, that he was just beautiful. And another story I wanted to share, the big idea. You know, there's a lot of books out there about peace on earth. And so I wanted to figure out how to write a book about peace and remind people about kindness and love. And so how could I do that differently? So I decided to bring the little girl on the moon into the picture. But in one of the sentences I wrote, sure enough, the little girl on the moon fell into a deep sleep. Well, I could have just said fell into a sleep, but I wanted to convey that it was a very deep sleep. And then I said, and by morning, she woke up and she was bright-eyed and filled with ideas. Well, I could have wrote, and by morning she woke up and she had some ideas, but I didn't convey the message I wanted. The message I wanted was when she woke up from that deep sleep, she was filled with so many ideas and her eyes were so bright and excited that she couldn't wait to share it with her mama. And then the story goes on. And so the power of words, bright-eyed, played a very important role in that story. In Moxie, you take a view of Tycho Town. But why did I create Tycho Town? I wanted people to see how much the moonlings love the earthlings. And so on the moon, they created a town very similar to Earth. And of course, you start learning the Moonling language. So what I really was trying to convey as you work with the Moonling language is that community, to know your community, to love your community, to know how to get around, and to embrace words. So as you find, like this is Talala, and Talala is the Talala Hotel. And they're just really fun words. And you're learning vocabulary in English as well as the Moonling words. And it's a way of sharing the power of words through imagination. So I could go on and on about words, but I see I'm about to run out of time. So I want to convey that imagination, powers of words are important in your communication. And what I want the audience to know is whether you're a budding author or you're about to give your first speech in front of an audience, is that you need to realize communication is power. And how do you get that power? By words. Those are your tools. And so really embrace words. Find synonyms that are strong, that want to convey the exact point you're trying to get across. So in closing, I want you to think about your audience. What is the message you want to convey? Then select your words accordingly, according to your audience and according to the message you want to convey. And by doing that and speaking honestly and truthfully, your message is going to resonate with your listeners as well as your readers. Thank you.
That was exceptional. First of all, and Jeff left a lot of information, which we're going to read out, but I just love your animation and your expression, and you're such a phenomenal storyteller. I mean, incredible being, in addition to being an incredible author and writer and singer. So what I took away from that, and then we'll take a break and we'll hear what Jeff had to say. We don't really think about our words as tools. I love how you put that out there, the power of using your words, and they're tools for us. One thing that I found is I've tried really hard to not label people. You are you're so, and you mentioned the way you were brought up, there's certain words that you couldn't use. And I think that was a great lesson, a great gift that your parents gave to you. Because when we label somebody, when we use a word like that, you say that to somebody enough times, they might start believing, you know what, you really are stupid. I guess I really am stupid. And then that has a ripple effect.
Right. It really hypnotizes you. And teachers, we make that mistake too. And I can share in my own personal life, it took forever for me to get over an art teacher who put me down in front of the whole class. And then I really believed that I should never, ever touch a paintbrush. And I mean, I did not touch a paintbrush for almost 50 years later because she was so hurtful and yelled at me in front of the class. And the only thing I did wrong was my watercoloring went outside of the water wheel. But because she told me I was, and I believed in teachers so much, then I just accepted that I'm horrible. I should never touch a paintbrush. How sad is that?
That's really sad. And probably it had everything to do with that teacher and that teacher's own insecurities or issues. And so taking it out on you as a student, you know, obviously was not the right thing to do.
I know, they need to take Jeff's class.
Yeah, exactly. So Diann, we're going to take a quick break. You did a phenomenal job with so many great points, which we'll talk about. And as I mentioned, Jeff has, he's put in the private chat his comments, which we'll read out loud. So stay with us. We're going to take a quick break. This is A Better You, lessons from the best coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Caruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating warm memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Bella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Bella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Bella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
The music, services, and programs that we offer at Listening to Smile are based off of scientific studies and research, along with our own personal experiences and testimonials from our clients and our affiliates that we work with worldwide. My own personal journey began in around 2010, and I tried to find relief from a chronic illness that I was diagnosed with. And the traditional ways of healing, they tried to fit me in this box, and that didn't work for me for so many reasons. And this led me to a self-discovery that I never expected to be so life-changing. Healing is multifaceted. It requires us to really look at our whole selves and to get really honest about what we see. I started to see movement towards recovery when I started to integrate yoga into my life daily. When I started to incorporate the music into all aspects of my life, including my yoga practice, my healing completely accelerated, and listening to Smile's music helped me to open my consciousness. I was able to open my eyes to new perspectives and make changes that I needed to make in order to recover. The most noticeable difference that I saw right away, like immediately after listening to my first frequency track, was how much my anxiety stopped, completely stopped. There was such a relief. My mind was actually quiet for the first time in so many years. I felt safe. I felt this comfort and this peace immediately. I continued to listen daily, and I found that amazing things were happening inside of me. I felt calmer, I felt happier. I felt like I was in this little bubble of peace. Physically, I started to see the changes happening. I started to see the things happening in my body that needed to happen for me to heal from my illness. I felt empowered, I felt hopeful, and something that I hadn't felt in years. This is why we at Listening to Smile integrate yoga and Listening to Smile music together. We see such a huge benefit from integrating the music into other modalities of healing. It accelerates these modalities, it steps them up to another level because it works on the brainwave states and the neural pathways in the brain. This is something that is not very easy for us to do alone at home, but the Listening to Smile music makes that possible. This is where real change happens. This is where the body and the mind sync up and work towards health of the being as a whole. That is true health, and Listening to Smile frequency music will get you there.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Welcome back to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents A Better You, lessons from the best coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors. And here's one of our experts, Diann Floyd Boehm, who just gave a phenomenal presentation. Diann, are you okay with me reading what Jeff wrote about your presentation?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So Jeff Nischwitz, Snow Globe Shaker, wrote, loved what Diann shared. I also love the power of words and so many different ways to use them, share them, etc. I also believe in the insight of words that people say. While people often say things like, it's just a word, I think words are the truth of people's unconscious. I often say, pay attention to the words you choose for yourself and with others. I really enjoy writers who help paint a picture with their words, and it reminds me that I can do the same as a person, speaker, and writer. I think Diann's sharing is a great reminder to be more intentional with my words and to enliven my communication with more thought about the words' intended impacts and potentially unintentional impacts. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes, you put a lot of thought into that. You are so exceptional at painting a picture. And I just think you are truly gifted. And something that people might know about you is that you have a long history as an entertainer, as a performer. Would you like to share anything about that?
Well, I like to think I do. I've always enjoyed stage work, and it was when I was in 4th grade that I found the stage. And after I heard that first applause, I was like, oh, I just love entertaining people. And so I may not be a movie star or professional, but whenever I can make people smile or put on a small show or be in a musical, I'm just so thrilled, because the power of being able in that moment in time have someone feel good and step away from who they are and enter another world and be happy is just so thrilling. So when I was in Dubai, I really got to do the most in my work with a British company called Popular Productions, and they're part of the West End. And to be in any of their musicals, the director John Payton was phenomenal, and Lucy McGee, who is one of the producers, just incredible people to work with, and it was such a blessing, and I can't say enough about it.
Diann, when did you first realize that you had that desire? When was the first time you were on a stage?
In 4th grade is when I knew it, but my mama said I came out singing instead of crying. She says I hit a high C at the very beginning of life. So I figure in heaven I was popping through and hopping around all the clouds, and like, please just send her away for a while. We need some peace.
Now, I feel like I'm interviewing you now, but so would you say that at your core you're an extrovert or an introvert?
I'm such a combination of both, but actually, I'm very quiet around people. I size them up. I try to figure out if I fit in, where I belong, and I just observe. And I don't think it's till I'm really with a small group that I feel like I can trust and be myself, that I'll open up. Otherwise, I'm just observing. And it's not till I get on stage that I just truly go, ding!
I can understand and relate to that. I know when I was in my corporate career for most of my life, anytime there would be a networking event, or there's a cocktail hour or whatever it was, I would always be very nervous. And I'd want to be the first person there so I didn't have to walk past everyone, or else I'd want to have a glass of wine in my hand when I don't know how to explain it, but yet once I got in there, you couldn't shut me up. Then
yeah, exactly.
Talking to everyone doesn't make any sense to me. So
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I've often felt that people who are really good on great performers and good on the stage, that they have some part of introvert inside as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think we're always learning and internalizing our emotions and everything around us, and it's fun to study people. And so if I go to a movie or I'm at a theater or something, I almost have to see a show twice, because first I just get captivated. And then the second thing is I want to go see it again to see how technically they did it. And so, and if we were in a symphony, I would drive my mom crazy, because I'd be like going, oh, did you hear that particular part? They played it. And she's like, please stop taking the music apart.
I would do a similar thing with my dad when we were watching a movie. Like just in the middle of it, I just start talking. Like, did you see how they just did that? Do you think, he's like, can you just watch the movie? It's like, no,
exactly.
I really can't. So,
did you see that product placement? That was really good.
Exactly. So I don't mind seeing something over and over again. I can watch the same show because I always see something I didn't see before.
Exactly.
But yesterday we had Ian and Dana on here. I think you were watching, and I ran their clip. And one thing that Ian Morris was saying, that when he watches a movie or a television show, he'll notice the inconsistencies. So if one actor had a tie on, and then the next scene the tie's like over, and I don't do that, but I'm going to start doing it. So little nuances like that. Do you focus on those types of details?
No, but my brother Danny can tell you every single change. he was really good at that. No, I sometimes I just go, wow, how did they get that character down? Or gee whiz, especially medical shows, like that terminology, I'm just always amazed. So but I wanted to share with you. So here's my little shaker. And truthfully, it was really funny. I had to reach for this when we were at commercial, because I was like, so I have a lot of things, as you know, that gets me in the mood for writing. But if I'm like at a point and I can't figure out how I want that character to be, I start just shaking this up. So it was so great that Jeff was on, because I was like, wait a minute, that's what I'm doing. I'm shaking until I figure out what I want.
I'm going to try that, actually. That's really a cool thing to. So I have a question for you, because you're an incredible writer. You're so gifted, and you have a new book coming out, by the way. Would you like to talk about Rise?
Not too much. I'll give a sneak about it. But Rise is based on my grandmother, who was just this, she's the closest to a saint that I know. And so is my other grandma. Wonderful. But my grandma Ruby, she was just an amazing human being. And she wanted to do more in her life, and just and wanted to have a career. And when you're born in 1904, that's not exactly what women are supposed to. She went through this time warp until she made it and became a career woman as well as a mother. And so Rise is, I'm hoping, is going to inspire a lot of people to go for their dreams, no matter what age you are.
I love that,
Diann. Share that.
Yes, and I had the privilege. I shouldn't say anything. Probably I won't say anything. Okay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I had the privilege of being asked to read your manuscript and write a testimonial, and it was really tremendous just to watch the story evolve, and your use of words and writing something that was obviously very personal to you. I think it's a tremendous read. Any idea when it will be available for purchase?
We are going to roll it out on my grandmother's birthday on October 20th. So I'm very excited about sharing more of that too. So everyone here, you're getting a sneak preview about it all. And we will be doing a cover reveal in a couple of months, and we will we is my publisher and I, and we'll be giving an opportunity to people to pre-purchase at a smaller price for pre-orders. And we're actually going to go to Oklahoma, where that's the setting of the first part of the book. And we'll be at a couple of museums. And once we have that all lined up, I hope I can come back and share that with you.
That sounds so exciting.
Yeah,
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. It's I have such admiration now, even more so, for historical fiction writers. I had no idea how difficult and how much research gets involved. And of course, I made myself do it too at a deeper and deeper level until finally I had to say I could be researching all year because it was so fascinating, the history that you don't learn in school. So
that's a question I have for you about writing. We had Red O'Loughlin on yesterday, I think. I don't even remember. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And he's an independent publisher, and he has a certain process that he uses to help people write books. So when you're writing, how do you say, you know what, Diann, that's it, it's finished. I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to edit it again. I'm going to send it to the editor, but I'm saying you're part of it. How do you say it's done, it's complete, I'm happy with it?
That is a difficult question, because especially when you're writing chapter books, there always seems room for improvement. And you just have to look at the character, each one of them, and say, did you develop him, and answer the question that you wanted for that particular character? And if the answer is yes, then you're done.
Oh, I like that. That's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, that's how I do it.
So however the character's journey was to make sure from the beginning to the end you feel that it's been complete and that you can literally close the book on it.
Correct.
Yes, interesting. I see we're over our time, but I'm having so much fun. Do you have another few minutes?
Sure. I'm having fun too.
So one thing that I always wondered, and I think I shared this with you before, my father was very intelligent, and he used to use big words, words that, people be like, oh, I wonder what that means. And so
that's my mom.
My mom has a great vocabulary too. She's always reading. So I grew up, instead of saying, see Spot run, I would say, see Spot dressed in the la la la, went around the corner over here. And so I have always been speaking that way. And at some point in my career, I started working for people who were from younger generations. And I was told by several people, you're using too many words, shorten it up. Like, think of Twitter, how many characters you have, and just get right to the point. So what are your thoughts on either of those two positions?
Oh, gosh. Going back to the power of words, if you have a message to convey, you need to use all the adjectives or adverbs, whichever, to make sure that message is across. I find it very sad, as my background is teaching, as you know. And I wasn't the greatest student on earth, and I certainly was not the greatest writer, which we can tell a whole story about that one. I wish my English teachers could see me now. But vocabulary was extremely important. And in school, you were constantly improving your vocabulary. And we don't do that enough in schools anymore. When I graduated from high school, the teachers would always tell us the lowest level was if you're in 12th grade, the lowest level that you should graduate was at 11.5 reading level. But they really wanted you at college level. And now in many of the schools, not all of them, and the reading level, the average reading level is 3rd grade. And if you look at a newspaper, it's very, very low. And it's good and bad, because good in the sense that people can understand what's being written in print. The bad part is that it's fun to know larger words. It's just fun, and it's important. And you can be better at Scrabble too.
I was just thinking about Scrabble, Diann. I can't believe you said that. I was just going to say, and it'll help you win at Scrabble. So, it's interesting. Over not the last year, but I would say a few years before that, we've been playing Scrabble in our family for a long time. Usually my mom or my nephew always win. But I would ask people to come over and play Scrabble. And what was interesting to me is, and I never gave this any consideration, how many people told me that they flat out refused to play Scrabble. And I said, why don't you want to? I don't have time for that. And I realized it's because they didn't have confidence in their knowledge of words. Right?
Exactly. And I'm one of those people. I will not play Scrabble with my husband, because his mom and my mom, their vocabulary is so huge, dynamic, incredible. And and they can win every time. And my husband is the same way. And I'm like, okay, this will not be fun for me. It's going to make me feel stupid.
Well,
I use that
you
word.
can't use that word.
I know, but that's how it made me feel.
I want to say hi to Ian Morris, and he's listening to Smile, the clip that we saw. So thank you for watching. The one thing I wanted to say is my mom taught me this. She didn't tell me this very freely. Okay. It took a long time, like years. She said winning at Scrabble is not just vocabulary, but it's actually a strategy to use the triple word, triple letter, double letter. So it's strategically where you place your words. Mm-hmm. So for example, if you have an X and an I, chi, and you have a triple word, that right there, just those two letters can put you over.
Right. It's like a chess game.
Yeah. Or is it, I think a QI and XI, is it both or no?
Yeah, that's my husband.
I
play at a very low level. No.
Okay.
But when you meet him this summer, which I hope we all get to,
yes,
you guys can play a game.
Well, I usually lose. In fact, I don't set my expectations for myself to win. I guess if I did, maybe I'd have more of a chance of winning, but it's not that important to me. And I talked about this before, but in the pandemic, in the beginning, I have this marble chess set that my parents brought back from Mexico. I think everyone must have one of them or somewhere in their family. But I was playing chess against myself, trying to outwit myself, which I know sounds ridiculous.
No,
but
it's good.
But I would always lose, or I would always win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Which side of the board you're standing on, right?
Yes.
It's the same for Monopoly. Game boards you can learn so much from. But if I was playing Monopoly with my brothers, I have 5 brothers, by the way, audience, then, they could outwin me every time. And I wouldn't be spending the money correctly. But now I understand the board better. So I'm strategic about it.
I think that's how you win. And yes. So let's go back to the power of words. And if you think about your communication with people you know well, are you going to communicate differently? When you talked about audience and use of words, do you speak the same way at home as you would speak to, let's say, here on the show, for example?
Most likely, yes. Yeah. Because I try to be as truthful to myself, no matter where I'm at. Only time I might be reserved is if I'm around new people and I'm trying to figure out and size them up,
I think that's interesting.
In a positive way.
Definitely in a positive way. Because I'm the same, like what you see here is who I am. This is not, but there are many people that I've encountered that they're one way in the work situation, and then they're another way outside the work situation. And I thought to myself, isn't that extra work? Isn't that extra work that you have to be 2 different personalities or 2 different people?
Mm-hmm. I think people in the movie industry, that's what you see. They have a certain persona that the publicist puts across, and you think they're one way, and then you discover that, they're just down to earth human beings,
right?
Which is kind of nice. So
that's really nice. I was just reading about one of the actors, Keanu Reeves, I think is his name. Did you read his background?
Yeah, incredible, right? I've always liked him as an artist. I mean, he's just amazing the way he's so skillful at his craft. But to read his background and how he helps people, it just made me fall in love with him as a human being. I don't really follow stars or know much about them, because when I go to the movie theater, I just want to be in the story. And if I know too much about them, it takes away from me getting into the story. But when I read that about him, it just made me want to watch more of his movies.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. It's when, you are a person who's very giving. You're always giving. You're always connecting. And there's something very attractive about that. There's something very endearing about that. And I think it draws people to you.
Thank you. That's very kind to say.
It's very true. It's just, it's very true. So, Diann, we had exchange a little communication that maybe you're going to be able to do something on a certain date in April. Is that going to work out?
Oh, yes, it is. You didn't get my email. Yes, it will work out.
Perfect. So
I'll be in Wimberley, Texas, and I'll have on a little thicker accent maybe, but I'll be happy to be co-host for you.
Diann's going to be co-host of the variety show for April the 9th. I'm just going to quickly look and see who our guest is that day. What's really cool, Diann, is that we have people that are signing up that I don't even know them. They're finding us on social media, they're watching the shows, and then they're booking on the show. So let's see who the guest is. It is Corinna, Corinna, D-A, Fonseca Wilhelm, Fonsecawolleim. So that's who our guest is.
Exciting.
Yes, that's real exciting. And the variety show, it's Friday night, so it's the last show. It's at 6:00 and it goes till 7. And it is just so much fun. We were just laughing the whole time. I don't know why, but it's just a fun show to laugh.
I'm so glad you started the variety show, and kudos to you. You're a hard worker, and it's really paying off. You have 6 shows now, and did you say 5 podcasts?
So we live stream on 6 platforms. So we live stream, like right now we're on 4, and I'm just counting Facebook as one, but we're streaming to 4 Facebook pages, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. So, and Business Talk Radio, obviously. And then after this is streamed live, it gets turned into a podcast. And then as a podcast, which is audio only, it's we're on Amazon, Apple, TuneIn, Pandora, and Spotify. So that's 11 platforms where these shows are available. So people don't have to be watching right now. They can go and find the shows later. So we don't care if they're watching live or later. Just keep watching.
Yeah, keep watching. But, kudos again to you. And, this leads into, tomorrow's your birthday.
Yes.
Yes. So everybody, I'll make sure to say happy birthday to her. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Thanks. I'll call you and sing that. And Thank you. But also you, is it tomorrow? You're going to talk a tiny bit about what you want to be released that's special to you. Can you do a plug for that?
Yes, definitely. So, and I think when I'm with someone like you, who's such a skilled and accomplished author, and the fact that I'm putting a book out, my first book, and it's a how-to book. So when I first started with the book, it's called Behind the Green Screen, and the first subtitle was How I Found My Passion in Broadcasting. And speaking to different authors, I was told, if you really want to make some sales and it's a business book, there has to be a how-to component in it. So then my coach, Red O'Laughlin, and I, we had to pivot and put how-to into each of the sections of the book. So I'm a little intimidated because of people like you who are so esteemed and well known for your writing, that I'm putting this book out. But it's my personal story of how and why I left corporate America, and then how I started this broadcasting TV/radio platform without any experience, and in 5 months.
It's powerful, and I can't wait till your book's in the hands of everyone, because you show and you demonstrate how if we believe in ourselves, it will happen.
Yes. And, I thank you. I've learned a lot of lessons along the way, even as recently as last 6 months, that I haven't always been following my intuition. I just haven't been. I've been very much like the carrots, the dangling carrots. And it's like, oh, okay. And someone who's in the business world who has so much experience in this and that. And that's not always necessarily the right thing to do, because at least I know for me, I have had gut instincts that I didn't follow. And that caused me to make decisions that weren't the best ones. So now I feel like I am following my intuition. I am in my lane, and I'm grateful for all that it took to get me here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that is a journey that we all go through. in the journey of life. We have little forks in the road, but when we find that moment and path, then it was meant to be. And sometimes we have to have those little weaving in and out in order to be the person we are today.
Absolutely. And I think going forward, anytime a decision comes, right? Ralph Graves Jr., you know him. He's one of our charter presenters like you.
He's amazing. Right?
He is amazing. I listen to his show Wednesdays at 10 o'clock. And I think it was last week he talked about decisions. And there are many times in life that we have a decision that we have to make and we decide we're not going to make it. We give all kinds of excuses. But at that moment, that time when it was presented to us, had we made the decision, we could have gone in a completely different direction. So now I'm much more aware of when I have to make a decision, reflect on it and make a decision. Mm-hmm. So as opposed to just asking 10 people, hey, what do you think about it? Putting on social media. What do you like? No, make a decision based on your instincts and what you know. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. And I think everyone realizes that. And there was a wonderful Broadway show for a long time, Sideways, all about decisions. Okay, if I make this decision, this is going to happen. If I make this decision, that's going to happen. And which way do you want to go? And as educators in school, not depending on the school, if you're able to teach it, because in some schools you can get in trouble for it. But I think it's really important to help kids realize, okay, if you make this decision, what will happen? To really think about it before you make that decision, and then follow that path.
Yes. And I think when we procrastinate to the point where the decision's made for us, a lot of times we feel relieved because someone else made the decision. But I feel like what's really happening is that someone else took our power. We allow them to take our power.
Yes. And generally you're not, generally then you're not happy because you discover that really wasn't the path. So yeah, you need to make a decision, own it. And if it turns out to be the wrong one, then just say, okay, now I know, and start over. And don't be afraid to start over. Don't wait till, 20 years later. So for example, some people become teachers and they think that, okay, I put 4 years into it, so now I have my degree, but I've been teaching and I absolutely hate it. I hate going to the classroom. I hate this. I hate that. And I'm using the word hate, even though it's not a word my mom says to use, but literally the people who absolutely hate it should not be in the classroom. So they wait till they retire to go into real estate. And I'm sitting here going, oh, please retire now for the child's sake.
Yes. So true.
That art teacher should have retired.
Well, and I think, again, every decision that we make ultimately takes us further and further down the path. But I think, tomorrow I'll be 58 and I'm really setting an intention to make decisions instead of having them made for me. So to take my power and be able to continue to help people. I remember, and I have another show starting, so let me see. Okay, we have about 5 minutes. I remember when I got my doctorate, we had a whole conversation while we were the students, we were there about, being Dr. So-and-so and Dr. So-and-so. And in the academic world, at least when I was in school, if you had your doctorate, if someone had their doctorate, you would address them by Dr. So-and-so because they earned that right. And so when I graduated, I was very excited about being Dr. Kerbeck. And I was told very bluntly that you're either an academic or you're a salesperson. Right. You're not going to be both. So moving forward, that bothered me for a very long time because I felt like I put the work in. So what happened? I started my own platform and I like to be addressed by Dr. Jacalyn. So it's not Dr. Kerbeck, but it's Dr. Jacalyn. And I feel like all those years that I didn't feel complete, now I do.
Yay. And you didn't let those people hypnotize you into thinking this other way.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Good for you. Exactly. The power of words, hypnotism.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah.
Diann, before we close out, let's just talk for a couple of minutes about a better you. and the opportunities. I'm just going to share what the opportunities are, and then maybe if you can comment a little bit. So the platform is Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents A Better You, lessons from the best coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors. And we have an A1 team of charter presenters, of whom Diann is one. And we also have an advisory board, and Diann's also on the advisory board. So under A Better You, we have 3 opportunities, and I'll stop after the first and have you comment. So the first is presenting a 15-minute lesson, and that is a lesson for the objective would be for it to be available for public purchase. And we'll put a custom intro and a custom outro on it. Plus, the content creator will have a 5-question quiz, and it'll go up on A Better University. So, Diann, what are your thoughts to share for the public about what it's like to be a presenter on A Better You and the value?
Well, I'm absolutely excited to be part of it. I think what you're putting together, the Better You University, is powerful. And also, audience listeners right now, time is rough. We have so much time and little time and so much to accomplish. And in the Better You, the way you're designing it, we can learn a lot from these powerful people, the best in the business, and we can do it in a short amount of time and feel successful. It's great.
Thank you for sharing that. And by the way, hello to Kevin. It's great to see you, Kevin Giswali, and also Joyce Kerbeck. That would be my mother. Yes.
Hi, Joyce.
So what I think is so interesting, as I'm sitting back here producing the show, watching and listening to the presentations, I'm thinking, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And every time I'm learning something, and I'm hoping that our audience is taking that away. So the second part is A Better You University. And so what's going to happen is, whether it's content that you already have as a content creator, or if it's content that's produced here, we're going to make a playlist. And then the playlist will give the consumer the opportunity to see a little movie trailer, and they can click on your movie trailer, and then they can look at the lessons you have, and then they're available to purchase them. They take the quiz, they can get a certificate. And in addition, they can also earn reward points. So we haven't rolled that out yet, but we're working on it. So what do you think the value is to the consumer to be able to go onto A Better You University and buy content?
Again, I think it's incredible, because the fact that it's condensed and you have the opportunity to see this video, to see if you connect with that particular coach is outstanding. And it provides audio and visual learning. And some of us are more, auditory learners, where some of us are more visual. And we are providing both of those in the university, which makes it very strong.
And the last part is Journey to A Better You. And this is an in-person event. Yes, in person, in the fall of 2022. And we're going to bring 10,000 of our closest friends together: coaches, consultants, trusted advisors, human resource leaders, as well as companies that supply product services to all of these groups of people. Diann, you are what is the word? Give it to me.
I don't know.
Intimately involved in the planning.
Intimately.
Yes, in the planning of this.
Yes.
So for people watching and listening, what's the value of going to an event with 10,000 coaches, consultants, and trusted advisors?
You're going to walk away a different human being, because you will become a better you. Even if you're like fighting it, you're going to find your lane, where you want to go. And I personally can't wait to go. I can't figure out, there's so many different people. I'm like, can we make it longer? I need to talk to all of these people, because they're so powerful. I don't know where you find all of them, but every single time I listen to this show, I am constantly learning. And you have people from all over the world. So your niche will be filled at The Better You.
Thank you, Diann. Thank you. And thank you so much for everything that you're doing to make A Better You the best that it can possibly be. And it's been an absolute delight having you on the show. I've got to get to the other studio in 4 minutes. So,
Have fun.
Yes, thank you. So look forward to seeing Diann on the variety show, April the 9th, 6 p.m. right here with our guest. Neither one of us know her, so it's Karina.
It'll be fun.
It's very exciting. So thank you again for being here. It's all about dating coming up at 4 p.m. right around the corner with our co-host Lisa Manioki and our guest Mike Goldstein. So he's easy coaching.
And even if you're not dating, you might know somebody that you want to matchmake with. So learn the tricks. So listen to the show.
I love it. Thank you, my dear friend. It was great seeing you. Bye, everybody. See you soon.
Bye, everyone.